everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Karima and I am powered by power. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Y'all, I'm almost done with my story and it's been an interesting journey up until this point, and this video in particular has been the most difficult one to shoot so far. So I'm just like, Jesus, what you need me to say? Because I started recording and the mic wasn't even on, so I did a whole 30-minute video and I can't use it because you couldn't hear me. And so I just had to just go somewhere and pray real quick and just be like, God, what's going on? Like, what is going on? And I realized, like, in the middle of all of that, like I think that was like my third take where I was just like, okay, this is it kind of thing. I was like sad. I felt melancholy a little bit because I'm just like telling that part of my life, like I felt the shame trying to creep back on me, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. We about to finish strong. We did not tell all of these stories, 5 episodes worth of purging and releasing for you to try to make that come back up again. Like, absolutely not. And so we not doing it. We gonna finish strong. There's no timidness over here. There's no sadness over here. There's no fear. There's no shame. I am powered by power, okay? And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would like to invite you to take this opportunity to join me on my journey as I walk boldly in what God has called me to do. And no matter what I have done in my past, none of that matters. What I'm going to talk about on this episode doesn't matter. What I talked about on the episodes 1 through 5 doesn't matter. What matters is the plan that God has for me and how I am intentionally aligning with the will that He has for my life, period. So all of that stuff that I was feeling, I'm glad my mic wasn't on, because I was like low-key sad. Like, I almost was on the verge of tears. Like, girl, what are you doing? I had to go in the mirror in the bathroom and be like, hello, do you know who you are? Stop playing. Stop playing. Like, I was legit talking to myself in the mirror just like that, straight like that. Like, cut it out. What you thought this was? Like, I think, like, I had on another sweater, so I had to go get something real quick to make me feel a little like what you was saying, because I'm finishing strong. Like, I did not start this series to be out here sad about mistakes that I made in my past. Nah. That's not how we doing it. That's not how we got in this series. Imagine if I would have put that. I'm gonna show you what I look like, man. Sad. I'm gonna put it right here. Just sad, black and white. Just, I kept the same shirt on, but like I had to, because I was just like, no. So welcome to episode 6. I'm gonna keep this same energy. I am not about to be out here sad for what? I can't change nothing. I done did it already. So let me just tell the story and move on and release. Like I said, this is a release. So welcome to a series that I'm calling Why I'm Still Single. If you have not watched any of the episodes and you don't understand the energy that I have right now, just pause this video and go watch the rest. Like 1 through 5. Episode 1 was about my parents. Episode 2 was about elementary and middle school. Episode 3 was about high school. Episode 4 was about college. Episode 5 was about teaching. And this episode is going to be about adulting, and how I was continuously trying to find or recognizing the trend that was going on in my life. And I'm gonna just talk about it. Tomorrow's episode, that's gonna be airing on Valentine's Day. So it's almost Valentine's Day. Shout out to all the lovers. Whether you love yourself, self-love is the best kind of love, or you got you a boo thing or whatever. Shout out to us lovers. That's what prompted this series, right? Sharing my love story or whatever, that is still being written, because I mean, this is my middle finger, but I don't got no ring on this finger, so it is still being written. Thank you, Jesus. He's writing it, so it's gonna be glorious. It's gonna be epic. It's going to be gorgeous. Okay, I'm excited. But anyway, that's tomorrow's episode. I'm going to be talking about where I am right now and how I'm just accepting the fact that, yes, I'm still single and it's okay, because this is a season that God needs me to be in, because once I get married, I'm never going to be single again. So I'm going to enjoy this. I'm just rock it out. So today I'm going to be talking about the finale of tomorrow's the finale, but the finale of the seesaw and the trend of this gray area and the back and forth that has been going on in my life. And it was exhausting and I'm tired. I'm over it. I'm over it. So I told you guys in my last episode that I was at this new church, started talking to this guy, godly guy, who thought I was his wife. No, wasn't his wife, obviously. And then after him, I started talking to this musician at the church. So let me give you guys some backstory. So I told you guys already, 2016, I joined this new church. I was on the spiritual high, and I hadn't talked to 128. I also mentioned that he's going to be a common thread throughout some of these episodes. So I hadn't talked to him for a while, and he and I stopped talking. I said, I think it was December 2015. So when I went to this church, I was just focused on God. Me and him, me and God, everything was great. Right before I moved into my brownstone apartment, I was living with my grandmother. I mentioned this before. And I was staying with her for a while. And one morning, my friend from college, she texted me a picture of 128 and his new girlfriend. Early in the morning, that's the first thing I see when I open up my phone. And I remember that day I was going to work. I was crying. I was just like, what are you crying for? Girl, get your life together. You haven't talked to him in months, so what's the problem? So I was praying and crying some more and praying, and I'm just like, I don't understand. So I eventually got over it that day. Somehow, I even read about this in my journal the other night. I don't remember who reached out to who, but somehow 128 came back around. You see the thread that's happening, right? This back and forth kind of thing. And so when he came back around, he was telling me about his new girlfriend or whatever. And he was just like, yo, there's something different about you. He just saw the light, I guess, that I had from spending all that time with God and being in this new environment in church. And he was just like, yo, there's something different about you. And eventually he ended up breaking up with his girlfriend, and we started talking. And so this is before the musicians started coming around. So right when this happened, homeboy, let's call the musician, let's give him a number, 1224, right? The reason I'm calling him 1224 is because after we started talking, we were in our situationship, we finally said I love you on Christmas Eve of, I believe it was 2017. So yeah, so that's obviously further down the line. Let's keep it. I'm gonna try to be as straightforward as possible, because I know I'll be telling my stories all over the place. So 128 comes back in. He breaks up with his girlfriend. I move into my brownstone. I invite him over. We start talking. Now, because of this light that he saw, he respected my boundaries, right? He was I'm gonna respect it. We're not gonna do nothing. I'm not gonna push you. I get it. You remind me of all the things that we need to do. Mind you, I don't think I said this, but his father is a pastor. So I know I mentioned that he wasn't oblivious to who God was, because he grew up in church as well. That's something that we vibed on when we met, right? So that worked for a month, right? So simultaneously, 1224, he starts reaching out. He stopped me one time. I think the first time we talked, we were at this bowling event that I went to with the church, and he asked me for my Facebook or something weird like that. So he hit me up on Facebook. I gave him my Facebook because I'm never really on Facebook. So he hit me up. He got ignored for a while. Then when he saw me again, he was like, yo, you never said anything. So I gave him my Snapchat. And then like that didn't, like, it was just a lot of like back and forth with social media. And then I didn't give him my number at first. Like eventually I gave him my number and we started talking. He invited me to one of his gigs in the city because he was a musician and he was playing for somebody. And I went after work, and I remember after the gig we sat and we had a conversation in his car, and I was telling him about like my celibate journey and how I'm deciding to live for Christ. Like I've been there, done that, I'm not trying to do that no more. And right after this conversation, it's as if like what I was saying went in one ear and out the other, because homeboy was trying to kiss up on me, and I'm just like, you didn't just hear what I said? So I kind of got like upset, and I left and I got in my car and I went home. And I remember talking to my friend that night, and she happened to know him longer than I did, and she was just like, yeah, that's not a good look, right? My hard-head self, I think I may have listened for a couple of weeks or whatever, but I didn't really take heed to what she said. So eventually, with his continuous persisting, we continued to talk, right? So now, again, simultaneously, I'm talking to him, dealing with that, and like 128 is back around. So long story short, I started talking to both of them at the same time. Now this is, again, I told you the trend. Just like once you start trying to live for God and make this declaration, like, yes, I'm here, distractions, just left, right, out the woodwork, like distractions. So I have both of them just distracting me from all of this momentum that I had built up at this new environment in this new church. And then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, like both of them wasn't enough, I started to get invited to certain events outside of the church by the young adults in the church. And so obviously I'm already a party girl, so I already knew what that environment was like. But because church people was inviting me, I'm just like, okay, it's not going to be that bad. Once again, overestimating myself. Like, I can do this. I'm hanging out with church friends. Like, they love Jesus. I love Jesus. We're just going to be in a club loving Jesus. Like, how stupid does that sound? Anyway, so things started getting mixy at the church. So something that was so great, like I was, like I said, going to conferences, going to consecrations and stuff, like loving this new experience. Slowly but surely, it started to like form into this mixy ball of mixiness. Just mad mixy. So 1224 and I started talking even more regular. 128 and I already had our little thing going on, because at this point it was like it was 4 years of undergrad. Now this is 2 years after undergrad. So we already was like, whenever we got back together, it was just like we picked up where we left off. There was not much that needed to be done. So that's kind of what things happened. And I remember around that time we were trying to figure out, like, are we gonna do this? So I was like, okay, how about this? Let's spend a week together and see how we feel. Like, sort of like, let's play house. Like, why would I think that would be okay? So at the end of that week, we realized, because during that week I was also like simultaneously talking to 1224 more frequently, and I had told 1224 about 128, but I didn't tell 128 about 1224. And so at the end of the week, I finally told him, like, I don't really know how I feel, because now I have this person in my life and he's kind of like making things a little cloudy for me, and I don't really know what to do. And so he was just like, okay, so we're not gonna do this kind of thing. And so 128, at the end of 2016, either the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017, one of those, we just was like, yeah, nah, let's just not do this. And so 128 was out from that time up until the end of 2018. November 17th, 2018 was the next time I ended up talking to him. So we were like pretty much gone for 2 years, like out of each other's lives, no communication. I believe he was following me on Instagram for a while, but then somehow he just stopped. Or when we started talking again in 2018, he told me he didn't want to see anything that I was doing. So yeah. Okay, now 128 is gone. We in 2017. 128 is gone. We got 1224. 1224 was a situationship. We were never really in a relationship ever. Like, we were never official. We were actually in an open relationship. And with us, there was a lot of physical aspects involved, if you know what I mean. And that was the basis of our relationship. That's what it was. Like, there was other things there. He cared a lot about me, so he says, and some of his actions did show that. But there was always this gut feeling that I had about, like, just the way he moved and certain things that he did. Is just like, how can you say this and then turn around and do this? It was just like, nah. He never gave me that feeling like, nah, we can really be something. It was just like, because we started out the way we did, and because we continued as like an open relationship, and we was just kind of like in this situationship, we were sort of kind of honest with each other most of the time. But like, it was just like, it was nothing that I knew that could last like for the long term. It was just something to do fun. And so, being that this ball of mixiness started, it kind of like spiraled. I find myself spiraling once again in this gray area. And this girl at my job, we started hanging out, we started partying again. And the relationship that 1224 and I had, it was just like, he knew that if I was going out, I was gonna call him when I got back. Or if I needed to get picked up in the city because I couldn't get home, I was gonna call him. And he was gonna, if I was lonely or if I needed some company, like, he knew I was gonna call him. Like, just like, he filled this quote unquote void that I had back then. And I was filling it with him, not realizing that I was creating this soul tie. And because every time I kind of like had this emptiness that I was feeling, or this loneliness that I was feeling, and I like wanted him around, or wanted his attention, or wanted to be physical with him, it was just like, I created this soul tie unknowingly. And I would say we did that for like a year or so. And finally, like, I started, I think around that time, I started talking to my then best friend at the time. She and I got really close, and I opened up to her about everything that I was going through. And I began to tell her like all of the things that we were doing, and how like I felt about it. And it was at that time where on YouTube, I would see all of these videos about soul ties pop up. I would see all these videos about like praying for your spouse and things like that, just like in my like continuously coming up. And around that time is when I found Michael Todd and his relationship goals series. Then I started watching Sarah Jakes, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm a block him. I'm a just focus on God. Of course, like, my convictions was always there, but every time I would try to do that with 1024 for 2 years, it was like I would block him for like a good month, and then somehow he'll call me on an unblocked or a blocked number, or hit me up on another app or something like WhatsApp, or find me on just find ways around me blocking him. And so he would do that again. He started out persistent, and he remained persistent. And so it was just this toxic back and forth song and dance. And he did not make me feel like this was gonna be something worth even like. It was not a relationship at all. Like, it was a situationship, and it was just like, Creamer, you gotta do better. And so 2018 was around the time I had this other situation happen to me. Again, we were in an open relationship, so I was dating other guys, and I started talking to this one dude. And what happened between us, I'm not even gonna get into that part of my life, because it doesn't even like, I gotta pray about that, because I don't know what God wants me to do with as far as sharing that. But like, that was a really big part of my life. And from that encounter with this particular person, I had like everything that I had with my exes, everything that anybody ever bought me, the box that 823 gave me, like the Build-A-Bear that I got in college from 128 that we made, just things that I've accumulated from dating guys, like Broadway stuff, just threw it out. All of my liquor, threw it out. Anything that was like pretty much anti-living Christian, I threw it out, purged everything. And that was around the time I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore with 1024. And so that was like, I want to say like fall 2018. And so once that happened, I purged everything and had this big moment where things changed for me. And it was just like, God, like everything was just like, okay, God, I see how you keep pulling me. You keep pulling me. I keep straying away, but you keep pulling me. You keep pulling me. Like, I don't think I've ever hit like rock bottom and been like just strung out on some, not like, no, that's not my story. But again, this back and forth and this lust that I was dealing with, it was just like, it was just on me, and I had to shake it, and I had to really sit and understand what a soul tie was. And the best thing I can define a soul tie as is like a spiritual or emotional or physical connection that you have with somebody, to the point that when you try to remove them, when you try to get rid of them, like you still feel their presence. And that's what it was. And that's why it was so easy for me to keep falling with homeboy, because we had like a physical soul tie, and it was the first physical soul tie that I've ever had. Now, granted, there can be good soul ties, like a man and a wife, a husband and a wife. I believe that's a spiritual connection that God wants them to have. But like what we have was not good. It was not good. And so once I finally understood what that was, and once I finally realized all of these trends going on, I started to take the proper steps to just remove all of that and start focusing on like how I'm going to move forward and the life that I really want to live. And so 2018, winter, November 17th, 2018, it had been maybe a couple of months now that I'm finally like, yeah, 1224 is a wrap. All of these dudes is a wrap. Like, I want to be yours, God. There was this big snowstorm in November. I was at work. It was parent-teacher conference, and they made us stay even though it was snowing crazy outside. I was stuck in traffic and snow because everybody was like snowed in for 9 hours that night. I don't know if you guys remember that big random snowstorm in November in 2018, but yeah, that was actually November, either the 15th or the 16th. I believe it was the 15th the snowstorm happened. My cousin called me that night. My parents was calling me. My aunt called me, and she was just like, so do you know anybody in the Bronx that you can stay with? And I'm just like, not. The only person I know is my ex and his family. She was like, maybe you should call them. And I'm just like, I don't really want to open that door again. But this was like already 3 hours into my car. So I let a whole nother hour go by, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I should call and see. Like, there was no bad blood with me and his family or anything like that. So I called him, and he didn't answer. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit here. And so as soon as traffic started moving, he calls me back, and he was like, yeah, I was stuck in traffic. My phone died. Finally just got home. What did he say? Something along the lines of, I was thinking about you. We should, like, you know, catch up or whatever. And so the next day was a Friday, and after work, we went out for some dinner, and we were just talking about everything. He was telling me about his cousins, his family, things like that. And that night, so that Friday night was, yes, November 16th into November 17th. I had this crazy big epic moment, and it was it was crazy because November 17th, 2015, exactly 5 years to the date, I had a very similar moment. And I know it was the same because I wrote about it in my journal. And so I saw the entry, and I had a very similar encounter that same night. And so once that happened that night, like, I was just like, you couldn't tell me nothing. 128 was my husband. Like, that's what I spent the rest of 2018 and all of 2019 believing. And he ended up in another relationship, but I was just like, nah, God told me this is my husband, so I'm just gonna go with this. And so I'm gonna talk more about that experience and how and where it's got me currently in my next episode. But again, the trend in my life was, I have to be cautious, I have to be aware, I have to understand that when I am sold out, when I make a declaration that I'm going to live for God, I have to be watchful for the enemy's tactics, for the enemy's like plans and schemes to try to get himself back in my life. And even right now, which I'm going to talk about later, like even right now, like people are trying to come back, and I'm just like, no. No. And so I have to make sure that in all that I do, I'm prayerful, I'm wearing my armor. Again, like, it's important to put on that armor every single day and hide the word in my heart, so that when these moments come, when I'm feeling lonely and I feel like I want to like try to open up some door that I've closed shut, no, I'm going to quote some scriptures, I'm going to get on my knees and pray, I'm going to call up some accountability partners, and like, don't nobody got time to be going backwards. We in 2021. I'm not trying to relive any of my former years at all. And so I admonish you to get some accountability, to really sit and really look at the trends in your life, so that you can learn from the mistakes that you made. Learn from mistakes that I made. Like, we got to be out here progressing. We cannot revert. We cannot keep going backwards. We got to end the cycle. So this episode almost didn't happen because I almost got like sad and melancholy for what? No, not doing that. We out here in 2021, finishing stronger, being better, walking in purpose and in purity. And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow on Valentine's Day. So stay tuned. Please hit that button down below and make sure you subscribe and follow me on this journey. Thank you so much. Stay powered, everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Karima. I am powered by power. Thank you so much.